Have you ever wondered what the metaverse actually is? I've kind of wondered. And so I got a guy coming on that actually is pioneering virtual reality therapy. And I can't wait to ask him some questions and educate myself because I'm realizing again, I don't know very much. But if you're like me and you're curious, stay tuned. Welcome to the Dark Side of Therapy. This is Eric Nance, and I'm so excited today because I've got a gentleman on who actually does virtual reality therapy. And he and I talked a couple months ago, and I realized how ignorant I am because I've done Zoom for a long time, I've done telehealth, but this is something totally different. And Terrence, you sent me a graphic of what you do, and I'm thinking, being a gamer from the 80s, like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And
It's
you
pretty,
do, and it is cool, and you do this for a living. And
yeah,
I thought, man, I'd like to be part of this too, but I got too much other stuff going on. But luckily, we have people like you out there.
yeah.
So I want to start with saying thanks a lot for coming on. And
Ex-
you are welcome. I want you to educate us, Terrence. I want you to tell us what this metaspace actually is and why it's good for therapy.
Right. The great thing about what therapy has been in the past is that it's been a lot of face to face, and then COVID happened, and then a lot of telehealth moved to Zoom, even though they're already kind of doing Zoom. But the cool thing about the metaverse and the virtual reality is it's a combination of both that puts people in one aspect of both worlds. So you'll
Mm,
have the feeling that you're in person with the person, with that person, that therapist, that client, but you also have the feeling that you're there, and you also have the feeling as if it's like a better feeling of it's Zoom because you look around, you see your digital side, you see this digital world. You see these digital people, and the things that you can do there is actually transcendent what you can actually do in real life, right? So, for
right.
example, exposure therapy has been huge in mental health for a little while now, and I've had some clients who for example, claustrophobia, right? So I have one client who was
Right.
like, "Hey, I have a clients that are claustrophobic. Can you create something?" So I created this whole virtual reality experience that puts them in an elevator, and then when you're in the elevator, you feel the walls closing in on you. You feel like it's
Mm,
shaking, and it kind of lets people understand what the viewpoint of what it would be like if you had claustrophobia. But not only that, it also helps people that have claustrophobia be able to overcome that phobia. And that's just one example, right?
wow.
So we have claustrophobia, we have schizophrenia, we have even just telehealth sessions, the therapist, marriage counselors, relationship. It just goes into so many realms of what you can do in the virtual reality space. So
That is awesome. And we didn't hit on that in our first talk. Now I've got all kinds of questions. So you're developing stuff kind of diagnosis specific in this that is incredible.
diagnosis specific and also just regular just sit down situations where therapists can have these conversations with their client in this telehealth setting as well. So I'm able to dive into
Wow.
both. The ideas that these therapists have been coming up with has been really well. I'll give you another example. So I have this lady that's her son, she's not even a therapist, but her son is suffering from an eating disorder, and anytime he picks up a burger, he just can't do it.
Mm,
He just his stomach just starts acting up. He starts feeling really bad. So what I'm doing is I created a virtual reality space that he's in there. He's in the kitchen, and the kitchen actually looks just like her home. I redesigned it to look exactly like her home. She
mm.
picks up this. The son picks up this burger, and as he picks up this digital burger, as he goes to bite it, it starts disappearing away and away, and it kind of gives him the feeling of, okay, I'm eating this burger, but I'm not actually eating it, feeling the food inside me, but I'm getting used to the fact that I can eat again that way. And it's been really cool, really cool to see this, the impact that it's been having, just not on the therapy side, but the clients as well.
That is incredible. So in a way, that's kind of an exposure therapy too, isn't it? We're
Yeah,
not doing the actual thing, but we're preparing for what's coming.
right, absolutely.
Terrence, how many therapists have you? Because it sounds like you've worked with a lot of therapists. You've got a lot of different ideas. But how many therapists have you worked with, and how many are you currently working with as you continue to design your space?
That's a good question. So last month we hit our 100th platform. We created our 100th space for therapists,
Wow,
which is really, we're moving pretty fast.
that's
We have
awesome.
the great thing about what we're doing is I have standard platforms. I also have therapists that are paying rent just to rent out platforms just to have certain aspects as well. So we're doing both. We have quite a few that we don't have a lot of people that use the space and leave. Most of the people that get on board actually stay on board, gratefully. And yeah, we're doing pretty well. But when I first started this, it was really funny because when I first started this whole concept, I was just like, I love the metaverse. I learned how to do the technology. but I didn't realize how much of an impact it could have on mental health. And now we're just seeing like all the impacts and like and the growth from everybody and just so much positive feedback. So it's really the therapists that are coming up with these really, really creative ideas because I'm not a mental health professional, right?
Right, right.
I'm a tech nerd. So so do I have these mental health professionals giving me these ideas? I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Let's do it.
That is amazing. So yeah, at some point we have to collaborate too. I've just been so busy with other stuff, but I would love to have a client try this out with me and say, okay, what do you think about this? Because I think the advantage, and tell me if I'm wrong here, is there's a certain kind of anonymity that comes with this that you would not ordinarily get. And I always go to the place of clients are scared, many of them. They're afraid to do this. And that was one of the advantages of telehealth is you don't have to leave your home, if you're very afraid of leaving. Well, in this case, you get to go into the metaverse and you really get to have some anonymity there, which may free you up in terms of what you're going to share and talk about. Does that ring true with you?
It rings very, very true because one of the really cool aspects is like me and you are communicating right now through Zoom, right? But
Right.
if we had our metaverse goggles on, we could be in the nice snowy hills of Black Hills, you know what I mean? South Dakota.
I
What that
wish
looks
we
like,
were.
right? That would be great. That would be
That
great.
would be great.
I have spaces where people are at the beach and with the park setting. I have spaces where people are just outside in a gazebo with like, with the night and birds flying and you hear the sounds in the background, the birds chirping and nice little music to soothing and stuff like that. So what we're able to do kind of transcends what people have been doing, which is telehealth resume because we're here talking.
Right.
It doesn't really, it feels like I'm here, but it doesn't feel like I'm there. But to actually feel like we're in our own setting and it
Right.
can be a mountain setting. I could put you in the desert if that's what you kind of like. You know what I mean? And the sky is the limit to
That
what we
is
can do. Yeah,
so
I even
very
have
cool.
space settings. I have a space called the space of empathy, and when you open up the space, you see planets, you see shooting stars, all types of stuff. It's really cool. That's really cool to say the least.
I'm wondering then, so I do a lot of group supervision and I love it. We could do the same thing for that, couldn't we? I mean, it's not specific just on therapists. We could do this for all kinds of different stuff in mental health, it sounds like.
Oh my goodness. I have people that ask about building classrooms. I have people that ask about doing group stuff like Alcohol Anonymous, that type of thing, where you
Right.
can those type of stuff. So yeah, we a lot of nonprofits actually reach out. We have some people that have kids that have had traumatic like gun violence experiences, and we're able to put them in a community space in the metaverse where they can play basketball, where they can, paint and draw and all types of stuff and
Mm.
really have a community where they feel safe and really can go through and actually converse with people that went through the same things that they did in this space without actually showing you what I look like face to face. And that's
Right.
one of the things that we've really been seeing is that people have been way more open and honest being in a digital format than they are face to face, especially marriage therapists that we work with. Because,
Wow.
when your wife is sitting beside you and you're like, what's wrong? What's going on? It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to really tell your wife, like, listen, you got to cook a little better, man. You know what I mean? But if you're in this digital space, it's a little easier to tell her that. So,
I had thought about that, Terrence, but that is really true. I might get hit later, but I'll survive it in the moment because I'm my digital self.
yeah,
That is too funny.
absolutely.
So how many people out there are like you doing this stuff? Because I hadn't heard of anybody until you and I got together.
There's a few people. I think this one lady named Jewel. She's a singer. She became the CEO of Inner World,
Okay.
and they are kind of similar. What they do is they kind of have these spaces where kind of we are just talking about before, like Alcohol Anonymous type of stuff, anxiety places where people can come in and have conversations. Unfortunately, their technology is a little bit behind. I use Meta's technology, and they're a little bit more ahead, and we're able to do a lot of creative stuff there. We have other places like Amelia, XR Therapy that do it as well. But the problem with what they have is they can create the simulations, the environment, but they can't create the functionality that we can. So, like for the
Okay.
burger example, being able to pick up the burger and as you bite it, it disappears. They're not able to do that type of stuff. Their reality segments may look a little more realistic, but the functionality hasn't been developed for them yet. So there are a couple players in the spaces. Nobody that big yet. Nobody
Yeah.
that yet.
So you're sort of leading the pack in terms of functionality, is what I'm hearing.
Functionality, and I don't know if I. It's crazy. Like it's so funny the other day because I had this lady who asked me about something, and I got on the phone with her, and she was like, "I can't believe I'm talking to you." I was like, I'm just a regular guy." But she was like, "I haven't heard, like you said, I haven't heard anybody in the space doing this." And I was like, "Listen, there's people that are doing it, but there's not
Well,
I don't know." I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little more fortunate. I don't know about that.
Well, here's the thing, and you know mental health pretty well now. We don't innovate very much. I mean, if you really think about it, mental health kind of gets stagnant. And so when I meet innovators like you that are doing something I've never heard of, it's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I want to promote that because I want to understand it. And maybe that's not really a dark side topic, but I don't care because this is really exciting stuff because clinicians can use this. And I want to give clinicians tools, Terrence. I want to give clinicians anything they can to make it easier and better. And if we can increase our client capacity, if we can increase access to services, that's huge because access to services is so difficult. And
Yeah.
I know people, they just simply will not go to therapy. But if you mix in this stuff, and yeah, I'm going to pick on the gamers, I am one, there's an appeal to this. There is an
Absolutely.
appeal, yeah, that you're not going to get in just sitting down with somebody, and I love that too. But this just has I get excited for this, and I am excited about it, obviously, because it
Yeah.
appeals to me. And so, yeah, I think that's again the great thing is you're going to give people who ordinarily wouldn't do this the ability to come in, but also the tool to the therapist to say, here's something else you can use.
Right, and it's an alternative, right? So like we're not
Right.
trying to say like don't use Zoom anymore. You know, this is just an alternative experience that you can give to your clients. A more
Right.
so real feeling, right? Because if you have a private practice, everybody's doing Zoom and everybody's doing face to
Yep.
face.
Yep.
But if you're like, hey, would you like to have a meeting in the snowy mountains of Black Hills? It's like, yeah, let's do it.
Well, you got me thinking because I'm going to see some clients today, and I'm actually, yeah, I think that'd be a great question. Where would you like to do therapy? Like, if you had your dream location, what would that look like? And then we could collaborate and create it, couldn't we?
Right, absolutely. And I'm in Florida, so I'm already living the dream
You,
vacation.
you absolutely are compared to me, but
Yeah.
no.
Snowbirds don't have to actually leave, the mountains anymore. They can just have the metaverse sunny aspect here. So you don't actually have to travel to be a snowbird anymore.
Well, I'll say this: it makes you appreciate when you go to a warmer environment that much more. And so, if I ever get to Florida, I will appreciate it that much more.
Oh yeah, and I'll show you all around. Well, Florida's a huge place, but I'm in Orlando, so which is probably one of the biggest places people
Oh,
come to.
you're in the hub of all the great stuff.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've only been to Disney World like once, and that wasn't even when I lived here, so I'm slacking.
All right. Well, if I ever get out there, we got to go to Disney World because it's just you cannot go there and not go. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're making a Super Mario World, or is that Disneyland? I don't know, but I think they're making a Super Mario space out there too. So
that
which
would
would
be
be
awesome. I won't even touch on it, or we will not get back on track. But thank you for putting that out
yeah.
there. So we'll go to the dark side for 1 second. So you must have some critics out there, I'm guessing, because any good idea is criticized by somebody. What are some of the criticisms people have thrown at you for what you're
Oh my
doing?
gosh, like literally, like it was so funny because there's a huge community in the metaverse world as well. So a lot of people thought I was a fraud. A lot of people thought I wasn't able to create all these things. I'm like, hey, I got director people you can ask. I got like testimonials. I got all that type of stuff. So I get a lot of people that kind of hate on that aspect, especially other developers who can create VR platforms. They're like, well, I can feel like I should be able to do this too, or why are you able to do it? I'm like, you can absolutely put your stuff up there. I think Albert Einstein said it best. We all have 24 hours in a day. What you choose to do with it is up to you, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I get some little critics that have like that will do like that, but I feel like that's what happens, right? I think somebody said that life is like a video game. You're going the right way, the more enemies you encounter. So, you know,
Yes.
yeah. So,
Yes.
like, if I'm not getting any enemies, then I'm going the wrong way in the game. So, I understand it.
I can't believe I've lived my entire life and never heard that quote. That is really, and I fight lots of enemies, so I guess I'm doing the right thing too.
Right, absolutely.
So I'm hearing themes of maybe some jealousy here with people and some.
I don't actually hold conversations with them. Like some people will hit me up. I have a close friend that actually introduced me to the metaverse, and he was like, "Yo, there's stuff around saying that you're a scammer or that that you're not able to build this stuff." And I'm like, "You've seen the places that I created. If you go into the Meta's platforms, you'll see my name on all of the stuff that I've created. I can
Right.
recreate it, etc." So it's one of those. If it was true, it would bother me. But since it's not true, I just don't really think about it.
And that was my next question: is how you respond to the criticism. It sounds like you don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. I really just ignore it. It's just like it doesn't really hasn't affected anything for me. We have a very, very strong customer support team. So when people reach out to us and they ask these questions, we're there hitting them right on the spot. really fast, give them examples. We got the tutorials, again, we have testimonials, people that can, vouch. So nobody that has actually ever done any work with us has ever said we're a scam. It's just always the little trolls on the internet. So that
Yeah,
exists.
and that's not going away, is it? I've had some of my own, and I won't get into that either. But I think any good idea is going to be criticized, and I think because we're a very comparative society, somebody's going to be like, "Oh, look what he's doing," and since I can't do that, or as well, I better say something mean about it because
Right.
I have to
And a
find
lot of
some
people are
way.
saying you're a mental
Yeah,
health professional. I'm like, no, I never claimed to be a mental health professional. I,
right,
I
right.
my master's is in business, everybody. Just so you know, I'm master's in business. My bachelor's in advertising. I literally took the time and devoted to learning the process and learning how to do all this stuff VR wise. Took the time to learn it. It took about 6 months, and every day I devoted 3 hours a day to just learn the software, learn how to create, learn
Wow.
the codes, etc. So that's why I say, like, people are like, oh, you're fake. Like, listen, I put in the time to learn this stuff. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well, and you were also smart enough to know that you needed some collaboration with mental health people, and you embraced
yeah,
that, it sounds like. And to me, those are the best relationships, working with people that aren't necessarily in your world, but you find a way to work with them and learn from them. Because I've
yeah,
learned a lot from business people. And I think that's really cool because some people try to do everything by themselves, and I think that's not usually a good idea. I've tried that. You need to have these outside resources. So no, that is totally awesome.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so is this going to be your mark? I mean, when you think about your career and all the different things you're going to do, is this going to be your mark, Terrence, on mental health?
Wow, that's a great question.
I know.
And to be completely honest, I don't know. Like, a lot of the hate that I get 10 times more love, and I literally get people that will reach out and say, I have it on my LinkedIn. I'm a pioneer of mental health and virtual reality. But
Yeah.
people were telling me that. That's why I came up with the phrase of being a pioneer to mental health virtual reality. And there are a lot of people that actually be like, listen, what you're doing, like, keep going, keep going, keep doing. Even people that aren't even buying or subscribing, just people that are just out of just having love and that are fans to reach out and just be like, keep doing what you're doing. This is next. This is it. So to answer your question, I don't know
Mm.
where I'm going. I'm just going. Wherever it takes me, it goes. I saw when I was a kid, it was always this phrase in our classroom. It says, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you're going to still land on the stars, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just going forward with mental health. Where it goes, I'm not too sure. I just know that it feels really, really good when somebody reaches out and says, hey, your platform has helped my client, has helped and has done this, has been doing a little bit better. Their marriage has gotten a little bit better. Their communication has gotten a little bit better. So when I see that, that's kind of what
Mm.
drives me to keep going.
Mm.
More so is just the people that have just been impacted and really support me. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I can tell you love you can tell people, or you can tell when people love what they do, because when they talk about what they do, there's an enthusiasm. And from the day we met, I just knew that you love what you do.
Yeah.
And that's awesome because it's so easy to not love what you do. And because you love what you do, you're going to turn out really good product. And
Yeah.
so I thank you so much for what you're doing. And
Yeah.
I had a couple more questions. I could go on all day, obviously. Um, let's say you and I say, Terrence, I want to hire you to build me a virtual space that encompasses depression, maybe. How would we start the process? Like for our listeners and watchers, how would it begin?
So the first thing we would do is to reach out to our website, and we will have conversations on how you would want that space to kind of look. I kind of like bringing your ideas to life. So if you want that depressive type of atmosphere in a home, then we can create the home. But I get very specific because I really want the person's idea to come to life. So if you want the
Yeah.
home to have couches, et cetera, certain color schemes, et cetera. If you wanted the depressive state to be outdoors as well, I kind of get the feel, kind of the rough what you're trying to do, and then we create it from there, and then we give revisions to the people that have purchased or have bought in, and they get 2 free revisions. We're like, okay, yeah, let's change this, let's change that, let's change this. That way, we get them exactly what they're looking for every single time. But yeah.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so, am I kind of paying for this then monthly, or what does that look like?
So if you get a customized platform, you
Hmm.
pay it's $500 for a custom platform. We do PayPal, pay later through PayPal as well. We
Okay.
have standard platforms. We have 7 standard platforms as well that you can rent for as low as $40 a month. The first month is free as well, so you can try it out there. So that's another thing. Like when little haters be like scammers, I'm like, listen, there's a whole free trial. You can try it for free. There's nothing to scam people with. So
Okay, and I appreciate you clarifying that. It's funny we keep using the word scammers here. Is that what the world's becoming now?
I think it well, I don't know. Like ever since Andrew Tate came around, I've been hearing that word a lot, scamming and scamming.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I even hear people that think that just therapy is a scam and just in
yeah,
general,
yeah.
which I disagree with. I believe that therapy is definitely needed, depending on the type of therapy as well. I think me and we spoke a little bit about depression
We
and how
did.
people fix depression. Not necessarily going to a therapist, but actually, depression is always rooted into something, right? So if I broke, I lose my job, and I feel like I'm going through depression, it's probably because I was broke and I lost my job. But if you took away those factors, I wouldn't be depressed. The depression just vanishes away. So, that's different than other mental disorders like an eating disorder or something like that. Like those type of things I absolutely believe in. But depression can usually be fixed by the person that is going through it.
Now, I think so too, and and that's a very controversial thing to say because I think we like to associate a lot of mental health disorders with there is something wrong up here. And I've done this work for almost 30 years, and I can tell you that for a lot of people, there's not a whole lot wrong. But you're right; they've made bad decisions, or they've put themselves in positions that they don't know how to get out of. And I think we don't problem solve very well. I think if we taught people to problem solve better, I think we're a very quick pace. We don't think stuff through anymore. That's just my contention. I know we're not here to talk about that, but you know what? I like going off on different tangents. We're going to anyway. We talked
Right.
about it, so we might as well invite it.
Might as well.
We might as well. I told you that I'm writing a book about my experiences growing up and some of my struggles and why I didn't go to therapy for the longest time. I actually see a therapist now. I have no problem saying that. I think every mental health professional should. But you brought up an interesting topic, and the audience has no idea this is coming. But the topic is, why don't black men go to therapy?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a All right, so here, I hope the audience is ready. So buckle up.
Yeah, let's get it out there.
Listen, it's funny because I ask people like who before black people didn't usually go to therapy because who was their therapist, and their therapist was their women, right? And this is the beautiful thing about women. Women have a natural healing about themselves. Just being around, like women don't even understand this to a T how special and important this is because a life of a man is very hard. We go through different battles that women won't understand. Our life is very combative, is very competition wise. We always strive to become the best and be recognized by our peers and etc. And those things take a toll on us, right?
You bet.
The beautiful thing is when you can come home and your girl and your woman, your wife is just happy. She's just bouncing around. She's talking about how Karen sucks at her job, but she's just super happy. The dinner's made. But that's such a healing factor that a man needs because, if you watch any type of movie, anime, DC, Marvel, when Superman is down, he doesn't have any energy left. It's the words of Lois Lane that gets him through it, right? Just knowing that he's there, knowing what he's fighting for, and that's what black men had. We had that. Unfortunately, we live in a society now where we don't. Our women are a lot of influenced by a lot of entertainment and media, Cardi B, etc., and Glorilla, and it's a lot of independent that I don't need a man, etc. And studies show in 2033 that 45% of women will be single and without kids. So that's a lot of therapy that black men won't have because those women will be single, right? So yeah, black men need therapy now more than ever because there's a lack of what we're getting from home. We don't have that healing factor of our women anymore, and it's unfortunate, but it's the sad truth.
So I think what you said is profound because you're talking about connection.
Yeah.
I didn't think we would talk about this, but now I'm there, Terrence. So we have lost connection. I mean, I see it every day.
Yeah.
It used to be that your neighbors were your friends and you'd walk outside and there was just, and I smile at people anyway, but we are distant and cut off. So what you're talking about does ring true. Even in our own homes, we're disconnected from people. So you're talking about 10 years from now, we could be in trouble.
Well, yeah, the world is completely opened up now, right? Like women have a lot more options than they did before because back in the day, like when you met a woman in your town, it was usually that small town that you knew her. She didn't have the influence of, getting a celebrity to slide in her DMs to, fly her out, so there's a lot more competition for just the average man because the average man, when we were in our society, we were just competing for those women within our society. Now we have the dating apps, we have Instagram, and they say Instagram is one of the biggest dating apps out there. So there's a whole lot of competition. And what's happening is that the average man is getting demolished by the people that are able to have more money, the more cars, the more influence, etc. And it's just like I said, there's a lot. Men are more single now. A lot of men aren't even having sex, or not even. A lot of men are virgins, going through virgins right now. I think there was a study that said within 18 to 25 that a man has been without sex for a year or
Wow.
is a virgin, and that is wild to think about because they should have more opportunities to have sex, but because of all these dating apps, but they're finding that they're not, right? So if you look at sites like Tinder, for example, Tinder, they say that there was a study that came out where they were showing that women only swiped right like 4% of the time compared to men swiping astronomically higher. And these women that were swiping right, they were going after the best looking guys that looked like they had the money, etc.
Right.
So that's
Right.
just a small example of just putting in that society of just social media and dating apps. But if you put an average man in there, how they're just getting demolished.
So I also think these sites are so addicting, and here's my belief, Terrence. A lot of this stuff reinforces an addiction that we didn't have like 50 years ago, and I think we're addicted to snapshots because when I don't go on Tinder, but I know when people do, it's a snapshot of the person. That's not reality. That is a created package, isn't it?
Right.
So
You used to be able to meet somebody face to face.
Absolutely.
Face to face.
I know.
At the ice cream store. It was so nice back then.
It totally was. Now, I think I'm a bit older than you, but back in the 90s, yeah, you had to go to a pizza parlor or, I don't know, a burger place or
Right.
talk to somebody on the phone. But now it's like, and again, as much as I love the virtual space and what we're talking about, I think this is totally separate because this is about misrepresentation, I think, in so many ways. That people get on there, here's what I'm going to show you, but that says nothing about your character. That says nothing about your love of life or who you are. But you're right. I think visually, if it looks appealing, we are into it immediately.
I know couples that have met in the metaverse and are married till this day. And they've
Really?
met. Yes, absolutely. Met in the metaverse at a virtual reality party. I guess
kidding.
the way their digital avatar looked, they were attracted. They found out what they really looked like eventually, but they actually have moved in and are married till this day. So to even think about that 10 years ago would not even be fathomable, right?
No,
But this is the age that we're now.
That is so cool. So they met in the metaverse and they got married.
Yep, got married. I know a few couples that are together to this day that met in the metaverse. I'm talking about going on years. Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, it's here. You gotta tell people it's here. But if you think about it, eHarmony, all these Christian Mingles, Tinder, all this stuff, that is already a virtual place that people are meeting in. So it's only natural that if I can meet a girl and like her on Tinder with just seeing her pictures, I can probably like her a lot more if I actually met her in the metaverse, right? So
Absolutely. So here's my next question then. How can we make therapy more appealing for Black men?
Oh, that is a great question. I think there is a huge stigma because, like I said before, Black men didn't necessarily feel like they need therapy because, like I said, we feel like our women do. I feel like the stigma is kind of releasing, but I think one of the big things is making it extremely affordable for Black men because we already don't want to go, and now we have to pay money to go. So it's like, it's kind of like I don't even want to be here, and I gotta pay. So it has to be appealing. I think a lot of more group environments for Black men to be able to come will be able to do that as well. Because Black men just in general, they need the community to be able to have a support system. And a lot of times we don't just want to talk to somebody just across. We want to be in a community of men that think like us, that have been through the same experience as us. So I think that would definitely push Black men toward therapy more as if it was a more group brotherhood type of feeling as well.
I wonder, because I don't know how many therapists are kind of spearheading that, because I think that's a huge market right there. See, in therapy world, Terrence, everything has to be so specialized and we have to know your niche, and I get tired of some of that stuff sometimes, but I think in this case it is important because you're talking about a change that has occurred and what Black men once had, they may not have, and it looks like are not going to have.
Right.
And like you said, they don't want to go anyway, so how can we make it more appealing?
There's a lot of Black men that are kind of leading the charge when it comes to mental health. Like Charlemagne the God, he has his own mental health company, I believe. There's a lot, and he actually is a huge advocate on mental health. But I think one of the things that can really help as well is just we need to talk about it more, right?
I agree.
If Black men can talk about the fact that we need therapy more, then it will be more of us push to go with it. Because as soon as something becomes cool, Black people are on it. Just so we just gotta make it cool. Make it cool and make it affordable, and that's and from there the sky's the limit for sure.
I love that we're talking about this, and like you, I think things need to be talked about, even if they're uncomfortable. Virtually no topic is uncomfortable to me. I've 27 years in mental health. I've heard just about everything, but I think we have to be less afraid to talk about this stuff, and we have to be less afraid about hurting feelings, and we have to be better listeners. I think we don't listen very well, and I think especially in our field, we sort of think we have it figured out. Well, they have to be traumatized, not necessarily.
Oh, it's the West. The West, we're so big on not hurting people's feelings, and it's
I
going to
know.
be so detrimental. Right now, they're having schools where you have to call if a kid wants to be identified as a cat, you have to meow at the kid. This is absolute asinine. This is like it's madness. It's absolutely madness the world we're living in. To be able to not tell a kid, no, you're not a cat. You're a little boy named Timmy, and you may like cats, but you're not a cat. Sit down, do your homework. But if we do that, and I think they're calling it queer identity now. Teachers, I think one teacher or substitute teacher got fired for it. It's absolutely madness, the world that we're living in now, because like you said before, we can't tell the truth in the world without upsetting people. Fat shaming is a thing, slut
Right.
shaming is a thing.
Absolutely.
All these type of terms to just being when it comes to just being honest. When it comes to Lizzo, yes, she is fat, and we should be able to say, listen, it is not okay to be obese. It is unhealthy, and be able to push this narrative and be able to actually save her instead of just living in a world of making her feel like this is a fantasy. And then one day when she gets really sick from being obese, it's going to be like, oh well, no. We have to be able to take care of each other, and even in the Black community, we got to be able to be way more honest with each other as well. Yeah.
There's so much shame that goes into it, though, isn't there? I think people feel such shame, and truth, for better or worse, sort of puts the shame out there, and then you got to face it. And I think that's tough for people. We're not trained to deal with shame very well at all. And I think, again, truth is a great way to kind of equalize the shame, because you got to face it. And I think you're right. Truth is very difficult to come by these days. And in therapy, I don't care. I hurt people's feelings all the time. I had a good friend say, Eric, you're a big guy. I'm worried about you. Did not feel good to hear that, but he's worried about me. So tell me the
Right.
truth, hurt my feelings, because if it's the truth, there's going to be freedom there every time. I
Right.
don't
It's
care who you are.
self-accountability as well, right? That's how
Absolutely.
my friends we roll. We're completely honest with each other. We hold ourselves self-accountable. If somebody is being a bum and they're not putting in their work in society, we let you know, because if we don't let you know, society will let you know.
Mm.
And that's a big difference between just men and women in general. Men will get smacked by society very fast. If you know that you are a loser in society, if society will remind you very fast when you can't get that job, you can't get that girl that you want, you're not getting respect from your peers, it smacks you very hard in the face. But like you said before, it's still a part about being self-accountable, right? And
Yeah,
that's when it
right.
kind of goes into having these communities and these groups where people can come and hold people self-accountable with other people that are going through similar things, and being this, this conjunction of this group where you can, talk about your feelings, talk about what you're going through, and have these other people that are holding you self-accountable will honestly put you in a better place than somebody lying to you, telling you that you're a cat. So,
Right. You would make a great speaker. I'm
oh, thank
telling you,
you.
Terrence, you would be great at it. And yeah, I almost hate we have to wrap this up, because we definitely need to do this again.
Oh yeah, I'm down.
This was a blast, and I appreciate two things. I appreciate your honesty, number one, and your tremendously positive attitude, because that's very attractive to me when I talk to people. And I like the fact that it's not about whether I agree with you. I don't care. I like that you put your perspective out there, and that's awesome, because
That's
we
the
need
beautiful
courageous
thing, right?
people like that. Yeah,
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 because I don't agree with a lot of things people say, but we're just in a society now where if you say anything somebody doesn't agree with, you are shamed for it, and it's
yes,
absolutely asinine. That
yep.
is not how we progress as a society. We progress by hearing other people's viewpoints, understand the viewpoints. If the viewpoint is true and can be proven through stats and whatever, understand and be able to move accordingly. So,
I'll even do you one more, and this rings very true to me. I learned a long time ago that when you have an argument or you have a point of view, you better know the strongest evidence against your point of view. That's what
absolutely.
true, yes. And I talk to people, they don't even know another point of view exists. And I'm like, I have a lot of arguments, Terrence. I have a lot of things that I believe, but I also am aware of the arguments that could potentially defeat mine, because I
Right,
want to know what I'm up against. Because again, that is learning. That is how
right.
we learn and grow. And so I'm glad that you also take that approach of, okay, there are some things out there that may go against me. What can I learn from that? What can I take and incorporate into what I already think and believe is true?
Absolutely. Whew.
Yeah.
You hit it right ahead.
Yeah.
We definitely got to do a part two. That's definitely absolutely true.
Um,
100%.
yeah, we totally have to. But I want to say thank you so much again. The listeners are going to love this. And you are my first guest of 2023. It's so good to be back on the dark side. And yeah, it was just awesome. And yeah, man, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. I definitely appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity, and would love to do it again. And thank you for all the people who are listening. I hope you gain something from it, and just thanks again, honestly.
Absolutely. Well, this has been The Dark Side of Therapy, episode 1, technically, 2023. Terrence Williams, awesome guy. If you like this video, please hit like, subscribe for more great content. It's going to be a great 2023, folks. Thank you so much. All right, we're out.
Woo!
Hi.
That was fun.
That was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
I was gonna ask, could I drink my coffee, but I waited. I was like, I'll just hold my coffee.
No, you're welcome. Hey, let's keep it casual. No, let's definitely keep in touch. Let's look at a part 2 at some point. And I will also reach out to you because I want to get a virtual platform. I really do.
I appreciate it.
We will be in touch.
Yeah, and then like I said, if you have people that are interested, I do an affiliate that also puts money back into your account as well. We give $100 back to our affiliate when somebody signs up to get a standard or customized platform. So I always tell people that as well, because if somebody's not ready, and somebody else is ready, you can still get some change in your pocket by pointing them to me. So
Absolutely, no, I will totally do that, and because I think what you're doing is important, and I think after talking to you now, I see it even more important because this is not going away. I think you're exactly right.
This was probably my most fun podcast.
Really?
Usually it's typically people are just asking about the virtual reality space, but just stick with that. But it's also very monotone. I'm just sitting there like, yeah, just answer questions. This one was fun. I was able to actually express how I feel about just other things.
Absolutely.
And talk about, just the exposure therapy side. It was a blast. 100% definitely my favorite podcast so far.
Thank you, Terrence. That man, that means the world to me. That means so much to me. And I do try to keep it fun. And when we initially meet, we kind of plan out a format, but I don't want to keep it too structured and rigid. I want to be able to go off in different areas. And when you sent me the message about black men in therapy, I thought, no one's talking about this. No one is talking about this. I thought, let's definitely talk about it. And I think people will benefit from that.
Absolutely.
Hugely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.